work by setting up the first Khanka service, provision for wayfarers, the travelers, the orphans, the destitute, a soup kitchen, and that too without a penny in his pocket. Because even when he came down, the documents show that he had hardly any possessions except for his garb in yellow, his hat, a tasbih, a walking stick, a Quran, and some odd mods and a pair of slippers. And yet he was in that position that barely 14 years within that period, he was able to set up 22 trusts throughout the length and breadth of southern Africa, including a Khanka and a mosque in Lesotho. In 1905, he had traveled the entire distance at that time from Durban to Cape Town to set up the mosque that is presently the subject of this glorious anniversary celebration, and that is the Habibia Masjid. That was set up in 1905. We now stand tonight in 2005, 100 years later, to remember the heritage of this personality. This is again an indication of what the hadith meant, that when you run away from the world runs after you. And this is the service that he had given, because ulamas and scholars will agree that if we were to summarize the entire Quran, it is in two words: believe and do righteous deeds. And this is the message that they had given to humanity. And today we can say with great pride that it is this kind of service that he had given. In 1911, when he died, the Natal Mercury reports, there is a copy of that article which I have in my possession, including the trust deed signed by Gandhi. A copy of that I have as well, signed in 1909, that in 1911, when he died, he had already been looking after orphans to the extent of 5,000. And the people, the entire half the population of Durban had come to attend to his janazah. Such was the effect that this personality had had. And today we can say with great pride that South Africa stands tall with a moral profile that is higher than all the 5 permanent members of the Security Council put together. Each one or the other is either committing war crimes, occupying lands, or looting, plundering and resources of other people and nations. This country has able to transform itself peacefully and has engaged itself in a manner that has raised its moral stature among all the free nations of the world. It's in a way a contribution from personalities that have maintained the struggle, that ultimately it is service to humanity that counts. It is a principle stand that people implement. And at the same time, we see what Gandhi was able to achieve because of the spiritual input that he acquired, also from other people that he had met in the course of time. And India today is standing on the threshold of a power that is going to enjoy equal status in the United Nations. So we should ask ourselves this question, that when Hazrat Khwaja Habib Ali Shah, who was making his dua alongside the grave of Hazrat Khwaja Nasiruddin Rahmatullahi alayhi, and when he did the muraqabah and he got this meditation and reflection to send Hazrat Sufi Sahib to South Africa, and in the other part of the world, or somewhere in north part of India, another young man was coming in. This convergence of history is more than simply a coincidence. There must be some understanding and a deeper meaning of how one individual is able to influence another. And we now stand before these and witness the results of these achievements. Therefore, brothers and sisters, tonight is just not a commemoration of that anniversary, but it is to remember that we are in a new phase, and hopefully that the present trustees and descendants will take this message for the next 100 years, long after we are buried, that people will now look at a new situation and commemorate continuously the great sacrifices and the great achievements of Hazrat Sufi Sahib rahmatullahi alayhi. It is in the minds of men that wars begin, and it is in the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed. The only way it can be done is for us to walk the talk, to move from the status of people who talk of Iman and to move it into the operational side and to perform Ihsan. And this is the way we'll be able to make a great contribution to this great country of ours. Shukran, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.